Hey guys, this is Dana, and this is episode number 65 of the Ask a Question show, the show in which you ask a question about any type of narcissistic or otherwise abusive or toxic relationship or situation, and I, along with the rest of the community here, will do our very best to help answer it. Our goal is to give you the feedback and the support that you need so that you can move forward in getting all of the clarity, closure, and healing possible. And today's question comes from Anonymous, and Anonymous asks, Dear Dana, I recently moved back to my hometown, and my family, which includes me, my husband, and our two young children, were invited over to my sister's house for Thanksgiving. I'd love to see her, but she's also invited my dad, who molested us when we were kids. I don't want my kids around him. My sister tells me that was a long time ago and that my kids need to know their grandpa and that I'm being difficult. Most of our family doesn't know about what happened, and they don't understand why I have no relationship with him. I mean, am I being too cautious? And should I just forgive and forget and try to have a nice Thanksgiving with everybody? I don't know. Any insights appreciated. Thanks. Okay. Thank you for your question. It's a great one. And I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with when they have a family member that has some sort of dangerous or destructive behavior, because there is kind of this family obligation that people feel where they've got family members that are pushing everybody to get together and just kind of, for that one day of the year, they just want everybody to get along. The problem with that is if a person has some really outrageous deal breaker behavior, like being a child molester, then all bets are off. And it's really kind of too bad that, other people, what other people want, right? It's too bad that this person's a child molester. I mean, you're not the one that's ending this relationship or being difficult. Your father was the one that ended this relationship by having this really outrageous deal breaker behavior. You're the one that's now having the healthy boundary and saying, I'm not going to be tolerating being around a person that's a child molester. That's like absolutely no. And I'm really glad that you have that line in the sand, because you do have two young children, and they don't need to know their grandpa, because knowing their grandpa is potentially going to cause them to be molested, and it's going to cause them a lot of pain. And so your job as a parent is to protect your children. And that means keeping them away from dangerous and destructive people at all cost. It doesn't matter if that dangerous and destructive person is your father or a neighbor or a friend or, an uncle or an aunt or kind of you name it. If the person's dangerous and destructive, they're dangerous and destructive. It doesn't matter what kind of qualifying family member or title this person has. It's an abusive person is an abusive person is an abusive person. And we need to all act accordingly when we're around abusive people, which means to ideally distance ourselves to stay safe and to stay sane. You mention, let's see, I think I already touched on that. She wants, your kids need to have a relationship with their grandpa. No, I think that is absolutely, my opinion, out of the question. And you can frame that to your kids in the most age appropriate way. I don't know how old your children are, and that's going to be up to how you and your husband decide to handle that. And I don't know if your husband knows what happened, but it probably would be a good conversation to have with him, because that's kind of major stuff, especially if you guys have moved back to this hometown. This is going to be an ongoing thing with holidays and birthdays and these kinds of things. So I would encourage you to talk to him about that and let him know what's going on if he doesn't already know. As far as other people in your family, if they don't know what happened, yeah, they're probably going to be very confused. They're going to think that you are being difficult because they don't know. And you don't owe them an explanation. I mean, that's really personal stuff. So I totally get why you would not want to just let the world know what happened. But you can tell them something kind of more general and just say, you know what, I really am not comfortable really getting into it, but there's been a lot of stuff that's happened in the past that was really kind of just deal breaker stuff. And all I ask is just please respect my wishes, that I don't want to have a relationship with him. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want my kids to be around him. So, kind of end a discussion, and just however you want to frame that. So you're not being too cautious. And I'm going to also link to Let me talk about that real quick about being too cautious. I am a huge fan of always erring on the side of caution. Kind of hope, plan for the worst, hope for the best. Because if you do it the other way around, if especially when you're dealing with a person that has had some sort of outrageously bad behavior, then you're always playing catch up, right? Because then you're always going to be in reaction mode to whatever bad behavior they do, because they're probably going to continue doing this, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to be paranoid. It doesn't mean that you have to be hyper vigilant. It just means that you anticipate what you're potentially walking into, what this person is capable of, and then you act accordingly. So I'm going to link to a video on that I did I call it a thought holes. And the whole forgive and forget is one of those thought holes that a lot of people tend to fall into. It's kind of slippery slope thinking that people tend to get pushed into, and it leads to kind of poor decision making, or decision making that leads them to put themselves in a really dangerous or destructive situation around a dangerous or destructive person. So I hope that helps. I'll be really curious to see what everybody else has to say. And as always, lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this. So take care, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye.